evening, people of YouTube. Welcome to the first live stream on the inabber live channel. Yes, we have like 70,000 subs, but we've just started to do streams on here rather than on Twitch now because I feel like it's easier for you and it's easier for me. So now, rather than asking you to go over to Twitch, I'm simply going to ask you to subscribe, turn on notifications, and all that good stuff because we're going to be streaming much more. I just got diagnosed with ADHD and I am now medicated, so my focus is kind of decent now. So we'll be doing a lot more work. But today, we're going to be speaking about a man that I spoke about quite a lot this last year and promised that I wouldn't speak about much this year, and I don't even think I've made a video on my main channel this year about Shane Dawson. I think maybe I did one. I don't think I did. I think I didn't. Recently, I've just seen that Shane Dawson has released a podcast, and you know what? I've seen very positive things about this chat. I have seen nothing but absolute love and admiration almost for this podcast, and I kind of want to speak about it because it's been something that is it a redemption arc for Shane? Because that's the title of the stream. It is a little bit clickbait, but as you can see, it's on Shane's old channel, which I believe was the beauty channel Shane created when he pretended to enjoy makeup, where he wanted to make a lot of money. Yeah, that was a thing, and now it's a podcast channel, and it's getting a lot of positivity. Jared is the pre-cancel culture comedy we millennials need back on YouTube, so you kind of get the audience. It's a bunch of 30-year-olds who are stuck in 2007. No, sorry. I'm almost 30. Wait, no, I actually am. I'm getting closer to 30 than I am 20. Oh, God. But yeah, I wanted to take a look at T-Spill's video about this because if you didn't know, all we do on this channel is just kind of react to videos and give our 2 cents on it because it's lazy. But yeah, I am going to give credit. T-Spill made this video. Thank you very much, T-Spill. Let's take a look at the controversy because apparently the podcast is a mess. I want to speak about it. Let's go.
Dawson is back again, but this time it's to his brand new podcast. After months of debating,
you know, it's kind of weird. I almost rate the Bulls chat that Shane has to make a new podcast because I'm pretty sure he admitted to shagging his cat on a previous podcast. So, and that just slipped out there, didn't it? It just kind of slipped out. He splooged all over the... Wait, hold up. You're not subscribed. 50% of you aren't subscribed. All right, I know none of you care about that. No one cares about the whole 50% of you aren't subscribed thing. I'm going to say you need to subscribe right now or I am going to do something bad to you personally. Okay, that's a lie. YouTube TOS, leave me alone. I'm just here to say subscribe right now. And if you don't subscribe, then... well, I'm not going to like you anymore, so that's the real consequence here. But please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I would, sincerely. I don't care if 50% of you aren't. I want you, specifically you, to subscribe right now. The other people, I don't care about. I want you to subscribe. Thank you very much. Let's continue.
About starting a podcast again, Shane has finally taken the plunge and uploaded his first episode. As you guys can probably guess, the reactions are pretty mixed. His old podcast played a huge part in his cancellation.
It did.
Shane used to have a podcast called Shane and Friends, which lasted 140 episodes. During these episodes, Shane said so many outrageous things and had absolutely no filter, which is why it played such a huge role in his cancellation.
It is like, honestly, I feel like it's probably like logically the best career path for him to go down. And that's mainly because I feel like this is going to sound really weird, but I honest to God feel like a lot of people below the age of 25 rarely listen to podcasts. And I think that's mainly because that's the TikTok generation. They can barely watch 15-second long TikToks. And that's like a game theory, but like, I genuinely believe, and I think for the most part, the people that hate Shane are typically younger. I genuinely do believe that. And I feel like the audience that Shane has remaining are his older audience who have been with him for a very long time, who are now, they're older, they've been around for a very long time, they are dedicated. And the thing is with that older generation is that they probably don't use TikTok as much as the younger generation, and they've been more accustomed to things like long form content and podcasts. So I can kind of get the fact that maybe Shane would move into this, you know? Look, that might sound mental, that might sound like a crazy theory, but I genuinely believe that a lot of young people don't fully consume podcasts. They may watch podcast clips. That's different. But I rarely watch podcasts. But I know a lot of older people, not I say older people, but I know a lot of people towards their 30s that listen to podcasts.
People were really surprised when Shane dropped the official trailer for the Shane Dawson podcast. During the trailer, Shane said he realizes it's probably not the best idea for him to even have a podcast, but he misses talking to interesting people and diving deeper into subjects that aren't really talked about. He said during his old podcast, there were a lot of things that he wishes he never said, but there were also a lot
like shagging a cat.
good moments with really good people. He also made a really interesting comment about wondering if his past guests will ever text him back or decide to come on his new show one day.
Yeah, that's another thing which I'm very curious to see, because I've seen recently that Tana Mojo, despite liking a bunch of tweets, I think, where they're kind of alleging that Shane is a creep, she's seemingly now friends with him again, and I'm genuinely curious to see who will come on this podcast. For the most part, I really doubt a lot of major people would ever go on there, just because of a lot of the bad negativity surrounding Shane.
There's so many podcasts now, and to stand out, you either have to be really interesting or have really interesting guests.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of ideas for a podcast. I really want to make a podcast, but for one, I don't have a co-host, and I don't want to do a podcast by myself. But two, I want a studio which looks nice, but I don't know how to get one. I don't want to use my flat for one. There's not enough space. So yeah, I'd love to have a podcast, but I'm just going to have to rely on these live streams for some form of long-form content, because I love chatting. I do. And sometimes, chat, even in these clips, I feel a little bit bad for speaking a little bit too much and going off topic, but it is just like a mini podcast, this, but it's live and interactive.
Any creator that goes on his podcast is gonna get a ton of backlash, which will probably scare people away. Not only that, but Shane did lose the support of tons of creators that looked up to him. A few years have passed now, and we have seen some influencers start publicly supporting him again, like Tana Mojo.
Oh, I was right. I literally just said that.
Okay.
But are they willing to go on his podcast and subject themselves to that kind of backlash for it? Maybe, but I really doubt it. I'm gonna take a guess here and say that's probably why Shane decided to have a lot of co-hosts for his new show. He has to make up for the lack of guests, so he's bringing on 3 other people.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even think Shane needs guests, and this is coming from somebody that's a big critic of Shane. I genuinely don't believe that Shane needs guests on this podcast, because Shane doesn't upload that much, and I feel like his dedicated audience are just gonna be happy to consume what level of content they can. It's Shane Dawson at the end of the day. Regardless of everything that's happened, he is still a major name, and I feel like that name still is naturally going to draw viewers. Regardless if you hate that or not, it's going to draw viewers. I genuinely don't believe that he needs major guests. I don't think that this podcast is that, you know what I mean by that podcast? Podcasts where you know them for interviews. There are a lot of podcasts out there that I'll listen to for the guest, and that's not because the hosts are interesting, but it's just because the podcast has kind of been branded around that. And I think this podcast is mainly for speaking about conspiracies and things going on in their life and things going on in, I guess, in celebrity media. I don't think it's necessarily to interview guests. I would be very surprised if they ever did do that.
To keep things interesting, the description for his new podcast says, join YouTuber Shane Dawson and a few of his close friends for an hour of unfiltered conversation. Each episode features brutally honest stories from Shane and his co-host's personal lives, as well as the occasional celebrity guests. Reoccurring segments such as New Fears Unlocked and Conspiracy Corner will satisfy your horror.
I look, honestly, I haven't even fully watched the podcast, but I literally did just chat. Did I not just predict this? I literally just said this is what the podcast is, right? And I didn't even know that. I am a genius. But also I know who Shane Dawson is, and I know I've made a lot of videos about him, so if I didn't know that, that would be quite concerning.
While others like Embarrass Me will bring you the laughs. So press play to hang out with your new friends, and then press pause when you need a break from us. It's okay, we understand we're a lot. Now, at the end of Shane's trailer, he asked people to rate his podcast 5 stars to push him on the charts and get his name out there.
Look, honestly, I feel like we should just skip forward to where the mess is. It's 5-star, alright, who cares?
He went on to his Shane Dawson channel from when he wanted to become a beauty guru and did a poll writing, would it be cool if I turned this channel into...
Let's be real, chat. I don't think Shane Dawson had a genuine interest in makeup. And he may deny that, but let's be real. I feel like the interest may come from the fact that Jeffree Star is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think Shane saw that. He saw that he was weirdly getting this beauty audience coming from a lot of other beauty creators, and he wanted to capitalize on that. And now he isn't capitalizing on that because the beauty side of that audience have kind of left after Dramageddon 6 or whatever it is. And, now they've gone, and now Shane's thinking, right, I'll go back to the old audience and do what I used to do. I think that's basically it. There's no secret there, but yeah.
Shane Dawson is now the Shane Dawson podcast.
He's going to admit to something on accident. Look, I don't think there's anything worse he can admit than the cat thing. I really don't.
said, we have Shane, Shane's brother Jared, Rylan, and their cameraman Chris. They started off by introducing themselves, and then Rylan asked how scared everyone was to be canceled.
On a scale of being canceled.
Here we go. Here's the content. We finally got there, chat. No offense, T-Spell. I completely understand that you needed to introduce everything. That's perfectly fine. Not a criticism from me.
How scared are you?
Somebody in the chat got it.
Of giving your real opinions, unfiltered.
I feel like the only way we can stop the culture is to be uninhibitedly honest with each other, right?
Wow.
So, I think as long as we just keep it 100, I'm not really too worried about it,
I'm going to keep it like
Too right, Keemstar. Too right.
70.
When they introduced Chris, Shane said, out of everyone on the podcast, Chris is apparently the most woke.
Okay, so Chris, who are you besides being Peruvian and gay?
No, I'm everyone in this room's cameraman except for Jared. I'm production for this. I'm lighting and camera and everything behind the scenes and on camera, which is terrifying because I hate my face and my voice. But
Oh, I love your voice. I would say out of this group, you are probably the most woke. I would say that.
What does that even mean? What does the most woke mean? Chat, let's be real. Who's the most woke YouTuber? Put your suggestions in the chat because I need to know what the that actually means. Hugh, you better mute the F-bomb there. You better mute that. I want the monetization. He can't be woke if he works for Shane. He admitted to molesting his cat and said it was a joke. I mean, was it a joke? Was it a joke? You like Keemstar? No, I was... No. Chat, you didn't. Regardless of if I like Keem or not, that wasn't what I was saying. And you missed the joke, and I'm not going to let you know what the joke was.
Shane explained that the reason he feels like Chris is the most woke because one day they were all going out to eat, and Shane suggested Chick-fil-A, and Chris didn't want to go there because of the values and beliefs and the people the brand stands behind.
Look. Honestly, I've never had Chick-fil-A, so I can't be cancelled for it, but it does look good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Shane's one effort of being woke here. Look, it looks fucking good. I can't lie, it looks nice. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I haven't had fried chicken in a while. I've lost like 120 pounds, but that's probably why I haven't had fried chicken in a while. But it looks nice.
Shane said he feels like his brother is going to be more offensive than he is, so he can kind of sit back and keep his mouth shut.
Is he gonna admit to doing something to a dog? Is he gonna go one up on that?
Too worried about offending. I mean, at this point, well, you're the one. You were more offensive than me, so I feel great. Like at this point, you can kind
It's very good, but the homophobia makes it taste bad. Fair.
of do that, and then I can just,
But Rylan hit Shane with a little bit of reality and told him at the end of the day, this is your podcast. You're producing it, your name is on it. So if you're sitting there and laughing at an offensive joke just because you didn't say it, doesn't make it any better. After talking about who's the most woke and who's the most offensive, they moved on to guest ideas.
Okay.
I think Shane is going to have a really difficult time finding guests to actually come on his show.
Oh, come
And
on.
It sounds like
Look, chat, put one in the chat if you want me to go on the Shane Dawson podcast. One in the chat. Come on. Imagine, like, this is titled, Is Shane Dawson in his redemption arc? Or the stream is titled that. I don't think he is. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just want to go on the podcast. It'd be an interesting conversation.
Shane thinks that too. I really think he's gonna have to bring on someone equally.
I mean, if they look, if the first episode is them debating who's the most woke, I mean, that's not the most millennial shit you've ever heard. I don't know what is. Like, is this what people above the age of 30 discuss? Who's the most woke?
Equally as controversial, if not more, and that seems to be the direction he's going in.
The chat
Shane
seemed to
said
want me
his
to go on the
dream
podcast.
guest is Caitlyn Jenner.
yeah. Well, one of my people was.
All right, fair enough, Shane. But a little bit of advice: if you are going to invite Caitlyn Jenner on, please, for the love of God, Shane, pick Caitlyn up in the car. Do not let Caitlyn drive to your house for reasons I'm not going to say. But Jesus Christ, Shane, if Caitlyn's coming on, just pick her up. Just go drive to her house. Get an Uber for her, please. For the love of God, just please do some work for humanity. Sorry.
As Caitlyn Jenner, for a lot of reasons.
Rylan also tried to get Caitlyn to
I wonder
come
how many
on
are
his
actually gonna get that.
podcast, The Sip. He texted Caitlyn saying that he's so fascinated by her life and her career, and he really would like her to
Caitlyn Jenner is not reading that shit. Caitlyn Jenner is not reading that shit.
come on the SIP to be interviewed. At first, I was like, why would Caitlyn Jenner come on a podcast? But it turns out she's actually done a few YouTuber podcasts recently. She went on both the Full Send and the Juicy Scoop, but never replied to Ryland's request for the SIP. Then they moved on to reasons why they think doing a podcast might not be the best idea.
Okay, we're getting
Shane
into
talked
juice.
about his old podcast, Shane and Friends, and how they would say the craziest things to try and be entertaining, and said he's not planning on doing that this time around. But since he's not doing that, he has this fear of being boring, censoring himself too much, and maybe slipping up and saying something.
Honestly, at this point, Shane is worried about being, I guess, grossly offensive. But at this point, like, he's said everything under the sun. And he still has millions of fans. I don't understand why he's even worried, because he clearly has a very dedicated audience who aren't going to leave no matter what. Shane, I don't think you really need to censor yourself. You just need to not admit to shagging cats.
all over again.
So yeah, my big insecurity is that I'm going to be boring and that I'm going to censor myself too much,
South
and
Park
also
reference.
that I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble, and then everybody's going to be like, see, he hasn't changed, even though I'm literally 33, almost 34 years old, so I've definitely changed. And also not being able to get guests, because but we don't really need guests, right? If we have each other.
I literally just said that. I am Professor X. I don't think Professor X can even predict the future, but you know.
But like, is Caitlyn Jenner going to want to come?
Shane's brother had a similar fear as Shane. He's afraid that people might take the things they say the wrong way, but said their intentions are never to hurt anyone. Ryland had a different fear from Shane and Jared. Ryland's fear was about the increased fighting between him and Shane. Ryland said being on camera with Shane makes them argue so much more, and he's afraid people will start thinking they have a toxic relationship.
Well, you and I fight more when we're on camera, so like that's never good. And then people think like we have a toxic relationship because we are always like trying to be the most entertaining we can be if we're making something. And a lot of times that comes off as you and I picking on each other in a loving way, but it comes off very aggressive.
I think it's fun, and that's my toxic trait, is I like fighting with you.
I mean,
only though when people are watching.
yeah, it's not like we don't know.
So it's like a comedic thing. I mean, yeah, there's nothing really more I can say here other than I feel like this is a pretty wise career path from Shane. I genuinely do. Because I think for one, it's probably good for money, and his fans will probably listen to it because it's Shane Dawson and they love that conspiracy sort of long form content. So it makes sense for him to have a podcast. Will I be listening? Probably not, because I have a bad attention span. I can barely get through a 15-second TikTok, and that backs my theory up from earlier. So to conclude this, is this Shane Dawson podcast a mess? I don't really think so right now, but we'll see, my friends. I'm sure there's going to be some clip that comes out in like a month or two of where people get very angry, people get very upset, and I'll be sure to cover it on this channel. Please like this video, please subscribe. I am going to be streaming on this channel rather than Twitch, so please do me a favor, subscribe, turn notifications on. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be a good time. Yeah, that's all I can say. Thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye.